Right. Testing, testing. One, two, one. We're all good. Let's get this show on the road, shall we? Hello, everybody. This is Sports Dynasty NFL with your host, Juan, here, delivering a week 7 preview of the 2022 NFL season. But before we get into it, show some love by giving us a thumbs up below and a subscribe. It's free for you and it will help us a ton and it will be much, much appreciated. Also, a little bit quick plug in with the Buck Euphoria podcast coming up alongside with Mafia Sports Report on Thursday nights. Also, the AFC East Shakedown on Saturday nights. If you want your Patriot or Bill or Dolphin or New York Jets content up in there every Saturday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, with that all said, all the stuff that y'all don't care about done, why don't we move in with the action, Sawi? Week 7 of the NFL season. Bye weeks have started last week. So for this week, we got the Bills, the Rams, the Vikings, and the Eagles all on the bye week. I don't know if you guys noticed, but 3 of the 4 teams I just said are actually top teams of the NFL this season. So we are going to be missing 3 out of the 4. 3 really, really entertaining, really big. Well, not the Vikings. Vikings are entertaining, but the other 2 are entertaining and wonderful football teams that we're not going to have for this week, which kind of usually dings the product just a tiny bit, just a tiny bit. But hopefully the rest of the league will show us something good. Maybe not in prime time, but maybe this prime time game will come up. Let's start off with the New Orleans Saints visiting the Arizona Cardinals on Thursday Night Football on Amazon. All right. The Cardinals actually favored for once. To be 100% honest, I don't know why, but they're actually favored by 3, while the over and under in that game is going to be 44 and a half. This is actually kind of a tough one to come on. I don't, you guys more than likely have I most likely have known how my position with Thursday night games actually work. And I don't really know how this is gonna be much different, to be 100% honest. Not sure. I mean, the Saints did give us a really good game against the Vikings at London. It wasn't on a Thursday, but it also wasn't on a prototypical Sunday either. Uh, the reason why I'm still skeptical about how the quality of this game will be is because it's the Cardinals. It's just the Cardinals. At the end of the day, they they're kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? No bueno, no bueno. The 29th overall team ranked for DVOA. You know that team. But DeAndre Hopkins should be making a return. So maybe at some point this team will actually start to go upward and actually show that they belong in this league, because they kind of haven't as of late. It's been pretty pathetic, actually. But what I like about the Saints, I think I'm going to pick them to win this game, is they seem to have a newfound running game with Alvin Kamara and with Mark Ingram and the offensive line bulldozing people. I kind of like what I've seen from them. That happened actually since London, if I'm not mistaken. So I kind of like them to go with this. I'm gonna tell you where exactly the Arizona Cardinals rank on rush defense, because I know it's low. Just can't find them. Maybe they're so low I can't find them. uh, they're actually, according to Pro Football Reference, they're actually ranked at the top. They're actually 8th on rush defense this year. But remember, these are the stats that is entirely based on who you play. You know what I mean? So you didn't play a lot of good run defensive teams, then it's kind of swayed. You know what I mean? So that's why I wouldn't put too much stock into it. But just I know you guys like to know your rankings and stuff, so I'm gonna give that to you. They are 20th in DVOA when it comes to it. They did play a Seahawks team last week who did outshot Penny stuff, so they didn't. They did allow a long run by Kenneth Walker. So, but I think the Saints, especially since their style of football right now is really going towards the new mode, the new fad of the NFL today, which is good, solid defense, run the football very well, and let your quarterbacks make the pass or not make any mistakes. That's how a lot of teams are winning games nowadays. Not everybody has Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes in their team, so they can't be airing out the way that they do. And so the Saints follow that to a T. I'm gonna go since they usually play mistake-free football. I'm gonna go with them to win this game. It's gonna be low scoring because every primetime game is low scoring. The over and under is 44, so that's gonna be an under. I love a maybe 24-17 game. I think this will be better than the last two games put together. I'll go that far and say that. Okay. So let's move on. Atlanta Falcons are visiting the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are favored, as you can see here, by 6.5, basically by every sports book here. And the over and under in this game is an astounding 47. Well, the Falcons did drop a number of points last week against the San Francisco 49ers, albeit the San Francisco 49ers did not have a defensive line, dropping 28 points last week, while the Bengals themselves dropped 30. Um, I wouldn't necessarily read into that much. The Cincinnati Bengals actually have a pretty solid defense, believe it or not. There is one small worry I have. See, they are eighth in DVOA right now. There's one small worry I have with them, and it ties into the last game we just covered, and that is they got absolutely ran on by the New Orleans Saints last week. What was it, like 220, 230 yards rushing was gained on that Cincinnati defense last week. Mind you, last week there were no like big name wide receivers playing for the Saints. No Olave the rookie, no Michael Thomas, no Jarvis Landry last week at all. Um and they got ran on like that. This Atlanta team finds interesting ways to move the football down the field throughout the rush game, whether it's Mariota extending plays or running over, while it's him doing option routes. They even go as far as to put straight up college plays for Mariota to run. They love to run the football. And I'm not entirely sure if last week was just an anomaly for the Bengals defense, or maybe they're not as good as a rush defense as we thought they were. It's a possibility. The Atlanta is the third ranked rushing offense in the NFL, and that's how they get their damage done. So this is very interesting. I definitely expect the Atlanta Falcons to cover this spread, no question. They are 6-0 at this point in time in covering spreads. So I like Cincy to win this game at home. Them at the Atlanta defense, albeit they do run the football very well, they are still the 29th ranked defense in terms of DVOA in the league. And I don't think we need stats to really know that the Atlanta defense is definitely subpar, which would not bode well with dealing with Jamar Chase, who actually is an injury report, by the way. So let's keep that in mind, assuming that he plays. Uh, Dealing with that crazy receiving core. And the best thing that you could say about the Cincinnati Bengals and what they'll have to deal with is that this is going to be one of the teams that doesn't have a premier to even average level pass rusher. Atlanta does not have one. So they won't have to deal with the crazy rushes. The last time they played a team like that, if I can really think about it, I believe was the Jets, who have up and comers, but they don't have a big name guy who really produces yet. Hence why the Cincinnati Bengals didn't really suffer much from a crazy pass rush. This will be the same thing. So I don't see how Atlanta can really stop this team at Bengals team from scoring more than 28, less than 28 points. But I think Atlanta could keep it close and score about 24 themselves, especially if the Bengals really lackluster, sorry, on it. Look, it's 11 in the morning in the East Coast. I'm on break right now trying to record the show, so I'm a little rushed. I'm sorry. But like I was saying, if the Bengals defense really are lackluster against the run, this is not the team to face when you have some rush defense problems. So I will say Atlanta to keep it close. I like a 30-24 game, which is be on the brink of Atlanta covering the spread. But I like Cincy to win this game and really start to get things going. I'll go with Lions off a bye week coming to Dallas. Dallas is favored by 7, as you see here, and the over and under is 49.5. This, I believe, will be Dak Prescott's return after a pretty bad week 1 game against Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having a hand injury. Um, the Lions are still pretty hurt. Uh, they're miss they're missing 2 or 3 linemen. They had limited practice on Thursday, but I'm not entirely sure they're going to be playing at this point in time. But we always assume that if you've have practice at some point, you're going to play. So we'll assume that they'll have at least 3 to 4 of their starting linemen. They, as in the Detroit Lions. Now, since that Cooper Rush stuff is over, the 17th overall offensive DVOA from the Dallas Cowboys, they might have a chance to overexert that and maybe go up a couple stats after have that little stretch over, you know. But like I said during last week's show, which was the backup quarterback Palooza episode from last week, talking about what Dallas should do, even when Dak Prescott comes back. That could be a nickname if he starts killing, right? Dallas Prescott. Um, is they should not change who they are in terms of their identity on offense. Run the football, make smart throws. Don't push anything down the field if you don't have to. That's how they play with Cooper Rush. I don't see why they can't do that with Dak Prescott at all. Okay. They should keep that going. CeeDee Lamb is also in the injury reports. Keep that in mind too. So as long as they fit with that mantra, they should be a-okay. Dallas will cover the spread to me, absolutely no question. No, 100% opinion. Dallas is dealing with the worst defense in the NFL, so they should be a-okay. This should be a 30 to 36 point game for them. Detroit does have a good offense, despite the last time we've seen them dropping nothing against the New England Patriots. But they are going down south to Texas. There's not cold, not really any weather conditions they have to deal with down there. And depending if Jerry wants to open the roof or not, this will more than likely, regardless, be in a dome. So I will trust that Jared Goff will play much better. He should have a Monroe Brown from this game too. DJ Chark is still on the works. We'll see what about that. DeAndre Swift, I'm pretty sure won't play in this game either. He's limited though. They're getting back to shape on offense now. Um, Despite that, I still think that Micah will still do his thing. Remember, at the end of the day, this is still Jared Goff, and when pressure gets to Jared Goff, bad things happen. So I like a 36-24 game for Dallas Cowboys. I do like the over in this game. The over is 49. I like the over in this game. I think that Detroit will still score some points, maybe garbage time, but they will score some points in this game. But I think Dallas covering the 7, I think that's pretty safe here. The Indianapolis Colts will be visiting their rematch, the Tennessee Titans. Titans are favored by 2, and the over and under is 42.5. The last time these two teams met, I believe, was 3 weeks ago, and the Colts were defeated by the Titans at Indianapolis 24-17. However, there is a small possibility we may be seeing a different Colts team, because this Colts team, since that loss, I believe, are on a 2-game winning streak, beating Denver at Denver on a despicable Thursday night game. And they actually won a shootout against the Jacksonville Jaguars at home last week, while Tennessee's coming off a bye. And that's where my opinion lies on it. I will always say, and most people will more likely agree, that Mike Vrabel is at the very least a top 10 coach, and you gave him 2 weeks basically to prepare for Indianapolis Colts team that he already beat, that he kind of has a really good record against, albeit wacky games, have a good record against. And Indianapolis still dealing with a couple injuries in their own, a couple of offensive line injuries. Stephon Gilmore's on the injury report this week, so they may not have their top corner. There's still something going on. Alquidi Pay still not playing at this point in time. So Tennessee still has an advantage on the health department, and now they're also at home this time. So I think Tennessee, it's fine. Now, for betting purposes, I wound up paying for it last week betting on a AFC South matchup. I was rewarded for this a few weeks ago betting on Tennessee against Indianapolis when they played, but that Jacksonville Indy game, I bet an under bet, and as you can see, they combined for more than 60 points. So, in other words, my point is those AFC South matchups are just wacky in general, to be honest. So if I were you guys, I wouldn't really bet in this game. But if you have to, I think Tennessee is a safe bet at 2. Mike Vrabel knows how to get on this team, and this is the worst Indianapolis team that we've seen under the Frank Reich era for the last few years. Um, I'm curious to see if Matt Ryan, though, really found a stride after last week. This Tennessee team isn't the best defense overall. They're not necessarily bad per se, but they're not world beaters either. They're not like the Buffaloes and the Phillies, and then those teams. I mean, they're middle of the pack, that's 17th ranked in the VOA on defense. So they get the job done when they have to. But I'm just curious at this point to see if they really found a shot because Colts need something. Surprisingly enough, they're not out of it yet. This is actually the game for possibly for the division lead. Both these teams have 3 wins, have 2 losses, and Colts have that one tie. But the Colts, for them to in order to take this division, I think they do have to win this game. They're not trying to get swept by a single team who is basically on par with them. But I foresee that happening. Fortunately for them, I like Tennessee. I like them winning this game. Probably similar to the last one. Maybe this time it'll go to a 24-20 or 24-21 instead. Much closer, but I still like Tennessee. They just own Indianapolis at this point, to be honest. This Green Bay Packers team, whatever they claim themselves to be, are visiting the Washington Commanders. No Carson Wentz for a few weeks, so Taylor Heineke will be the starting quarterback. Green Bay is still favored on the road, regardless how they look all season. They are favored on the road by 4.5, and the over and under is 41. Very low scoring attempt. Okay, so Green Bay has lost 2 straight games against the New York teams. Green Bay has looked lackluster in every single game they play. Now they're playing a Washington team who is 2-4, who don't look 2-4. What I mean by that is the fact that they got 2 wins is actually astonishing because then again, one of them is on Thursday night against the Chicago Bears, so maybe it's not astonishing. But the team that they looked like week 1 against Jacksonville, where they actually put up 28 points, versus the team they look like now are just this opposite sides of a coin. I don't know. The difference is just it's just bad, night and day. Okay, so I have one small feeling in me, and I'm gonna punk out and pick Green Bay to win this game. But I'll say that Washington is actually going to look more competent than they have outside of the week 1 matchup with Taylor Heineke, who's familiar with the team, who's familiar with the teammates, who's familiar with the coach, who's familiar with everything. I think they're actually going to cover this 4.5 point spread. I'm kind of looking at a 21 to like 18, 21-17 game at Washington. I like Green Bay to win this game, but they're not going to look any different. We're not going to really have any difference in opinion for this Green Bay team. We're all still gonna think they're lackluster. We're all still gonna think they're no good. We're all still gonna think, you know what I'm saying? The same narratives that they have brought upon themselves for the last few weeks is nothing's gonna change this game. There's nothing to prove here. The only thing that this might show is that Carson Wentz his starting job might be in jeopardy after this game because I think that they're going to look competent. Not good, not anything positive, but better than what they've looked since week 1. Like the mistakes won't be there, the lackluster offensive line play won't be there. They're actually maybe move the football a little bit in the run game a bit, that's stuff like that. But they're still only going to score them 17, 18 points. So I don't think they're hitting 20 in this game. Albeit we did see a really bad Green Bay defense who is just really underperforming to the point where it's absolutely frustrating, even for non-fans like myself. They're 24th right now in defensive DVOA, which is it doesn't make sense when you play against the New York teams who offenses don't blow up. You played against a New England team who had to play a third string quarterback on short notice 3 weeks straight, and you've looked like crap. And you played the Chicago Bears. So to have a 20th DVOA on defense after that type of play is just bad. It's just bad. I'm sorry, I lied. It was 24th, not 20th. My bad. It's just absolutely. It's just sad. That defense really needs to step it up. We get on Aaron Rodgers and the receivers and the offense all the time. We get on that all the time. But defensively, seriously, they need to step up. But this is ridiculous. Let's keep it real at this point in time. I'm tired of talking about them. They piss me off. Let's go with Tampa Bay and talk about another lackluster team. Tampa Bay visiting the Carolina Panthers, who's looking like the number one overall pick right now. They are, as in the Buccaneers, are 11-point favorites, and I'm still questioning as if that's still warranted, even though even the Rams covered an 11-point spread last week, but still, based on what we saw against Pittsburgh last week, and Jesus Lord, the over and under in this game is going to be 40.5. So they're really anticipating the Buccaneers to actually score a lot of points. I think this game might go exactly the same way as it went last week when Carolina faced the Rams. A 24-10 game sounds absolutely sensational. I think this game's still going to go under. I don't think Tampa Bay scoring more than 30 points. And I don't see a world where Carolina, with what's going on in this team, is going to score more than 7. They might put up 10, maybe. It was a pick six that gave them the 10 points against that Rams last week. So, but if forget the spread, forget the unders. If you got check out the under bets on your FanDuels or your DraftKings or Caesars and all that. Any under bets, under offensive bets for for Carolina, please click them. They're not gonna be able. This is looking like the number one overall pick. A 1-16 is not looking stupid for this team right now. This team is pathetic. I ain't got a damn thing to say about Tampa Bay. I don't want to talk about them until they actually take this season seriously, more serious than they should. They're surprisingly 16th in offensive DVOA. That's because they get a lot of yards, but they're fourth on defense, fifth in DVOA, which makes sense. But that's the sole reason why they're gonna put up like 28 points is because defense is not gonna allow the other team to move the ball past the 35. So there's not much to say about this game. Let's move on really quickly. Just do what we usually do on review weeks when we skip a couple games because there's no way worth talking about. This is this is the first time I'm doing a preview show, and I'm not gonna talk about the team. I don't give a rat's ass. They'll more than likely cover. Like I said, 30-10 may at most, which is still under because it's 40.5. Whatever. This now we can talk about an interesting game. The New York Giants are visiting Jacksonville. Jacksonville is coming off of I think a 4-game losing streak at this. No, 3-game losing streak at this point. I apologize. The Giants are underdogs. Surprisingly, this is the part that's really interesting. Jacksonville's favored by 3 at home, and the over and under is 42. Very interesting that Jacksonville are favored after the 3-game losing streak they suffered. Maybe because they actually put up points last week, even though they lost. And Vegas is still completely underutilizing the New York Giants, which is a favorable thing for a lot of bettors. Since they either keep things close or win. This was actually tough to call because Jacksonville actually looked like they had a pulse last week, offensively at least. And I think the defense is way better than what they showed last week. This is, like I said, those really wacky AFC South games just came up to show last week. Jacksonville, they're 10th on defensive DVOA, while the New York Giants are actually believe it or not, it's the 13th because of one guy that I really credit, Saquon Barkley, with his resurgence here. But we got a nice coaching matchup, Ryan Dable versus Doug Peterson. And yes, every time I say Peterson, I always emphasize the D because I've never seen a name spelled like that before. But anyway, that's a pretty good coaching matchup that I'm interested in watching. I know my guys will have it on in the monitor, so I can't wait to see this game. As sloppy as it's going to be. Can't wait to see it. But one thing about the New York Giants it's not that it's unexplainable. It makes sense, but when you watch it, it doesn't make sense. That they're actually 30th on defensive DVOA, which makes a lot of sense because they're always down in every game that they play, and the team puts up points every time they play. Baltimore, they had 20 points in like the first half. Green Bay, same thing, 20 points in the first half. know what I mean? They wind up clamping down when it matters and just blitzing the crap out of everybody, which is probably why the DVOA isn't really high. It's because they're doing the high risk stuff, and the high risk stuff works, and the high risk stuff doesn't work. So, what it is. Um, I'm very interested to see how blitz happy the Giants get, and if it's really gonna get into Trevor Lawrence's head. There might be no Marvin Jones again, so there may not be much of a receiving core for Trevor Lawrence to work with, because I think I'm gonna lean towards the New York Giants winning this game on the road. 5-1 is 5-1, regardless of how it happens. And as soon as Vegas catches up is when we relax with the Giants bets. But I say keep betting on the Giants, man. Until they catch up, free money for us, right? I think Dabo will win this coaching battle. I think Saquon Barkley will do some damage in this year, continuing surge this year. I think the blitz is going to be the key. I think the blitz will get to Trevor Lawrence and get him. That's where I'm going towards. Despite the stats going against it, Jacksonville has higher stats at basically everything, but has when that stopped the Giants? Only once against Dallas. Jacksonville ain't Dallas. They do have a nice defensive line though, but I'm still gonna go with my gut. My gut says New York. I'm gonna go with New York. I'm gonna ride with them until it's over. It's only a few games left. It's gonna be a quick show, isn't it? So let's continue on with the Cleveland Browns in that embarrassing fashion. Traveling to Baltimore, the Baltimore Ravens are 6.5-point favorites at home, and the over and under is going to be, I don't know why the thing there go for 45.5. I have the over and unders and a list on my phone here because this website I have to like scroll all the way down in the website in order to put the over and unders for you, but then I have to scroll back up and go back. It's a lot of work. So I just have it here on my phone. That's why I keep looking down. The over and under is 45.5. Okay. So it's getting to the point where when the Ravens are up in the second half, I get a little scared. But I think for this game, the way things are going, I think things will be okay. Baltimore's blitz heavy scheme, not as blitz heavy as they used to be, but there's still a blitz heavy scheme on defense. Repeating myself, there is a reason why I'm repeating myself because the old defensive coordinator from the Ravens is the defensive coordinator for the Giants. That's why a lot of their blitz packages are not different. They're very similar to each other. There's a reason for that. So you're going to be seeing a lot of this against the Cleveland Browns. So that you saw that last week when the New England Patriots were blitzing on Jacoby Brissett, and he had no idea what to do. I see a similar feat, except the defense is worse than Patriots, so there actually be more points. I like Cleveland to score 21 points in this game, but I also like the Baltimore Ravens to score about 28. So I like the Baltimore Ravens actually covering the 6.5-point spread, and they will actually, for once, not choke. They will not do it. I like it. The Baltimore Ravens. There is a possibility that New England really put up a game plan, and Cleveland might suffer a lot for it. I mean, there is a reason why they're 2-4. Take away the running game, and what is Jacoby Brissett going to do to you? Albeit the Baltimore Ravens, their defense has been pretty. I'm trying to be nice, even though I'm usually not. I'm usually the heel on these shows with Trevor, and usually on the heel and all the stuff we do. So I'm usually critical on everybody, but let's we'll go as far as to say they're not the best defense on the pass. They actually improved though. They used to be 32nd straight up, but now they're 29th. The defensive DVOA is actually 16th in the league. I mean, I feel like a lot of that has to do with that Bengals game, but whatever. They play really well in that game. It's another divisional game. Baltimore usually plays pretty well at against these divisional opponents. Um, they're starting Cleveland started to be exposed to that one-dimensional offense, and once that happens, once teams figure that out, that's bad. They're basically waiting for Deshaun Watson. My predictions for Cleveland are that they're going to struggle all the way up to week 11, be like 3 or 4 wins. They only have 2 at this point. It's week 7, and Deshaun will go on a small run. That's looking pretty good right now. I'm feeling pretty good about it. Although both these teams are only separated by 1 win, let's keep it real. Baltimore is the much better team. Let's keep it simple. Baltimore's going to win this game 28-20, 28-21. Cover the spread. Over. I like it. Okay, so remember those games where I said that I like to skip over? I'll partially do that here with the New York Jets visiting Denver. This is a pick 'em. Denver's favored, quote unquote, by one. Straight pick 'em. The over and under in this game is going to be 38.5. Vegas deems this no points because Denver usually does not allow points. This defense is very good. I'm interested to see what happens to the New York Jets offense when you take away their run game, similar to Cleveland. I said also on last week's show that when are they gonna stop hiding Zach Wilson? Is there a reason why you're hiding Zach Wilson? Are you actually hiding Zach Wilson? And if you are, why are you doing it? And are we expecting some type of disaster happening if he has to throw the football a certain amount of times? This is definitely gonna be defensive matchup. The under is just screaming at everybody's name is stamped as a lock basically on a lot of people's cards, I'm sure. I don't see a universe, especially how the Broncos been playing, how they score on this Jets team. This Jets defense is actually pretty good. Sauce Gardner and company are really doing a number to a lot of teams they played this year. This team is actually pretty fun. 12th in DVOA, very, very good. And Denver's actually second, believe it or not. I mean, playing Indianapolis might help that. Playing against the Texans might help that. But hey. So I really like I want to pick the Jets so bad. Like my whole body is screaming Jets, 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 Jets. Yeah, I'm not doing that damn count. I am a fan of the of an enemy team, so I will never do their little stupid chant. But they're screaming Jets at me. But I'm gonna go against my gut, which usually doesn't go well. I'm gonna go with Denver. It's kind of hard for me to believe they're gonna go on this huge 3-4 game losing streak. It's kind of hard for me. The Jets are gonna be 5-2. Then they're already 4-2. Uh, the Jets have the better coach by a mile because everybody has a better coach by a mile. The Jets have the better running game. The Jets have on par defense, not better than Denver's, but on par defense. It's just at Denver. See, I'm struggling with this, guys. It's really tough. Even the stats, I believe, scream at me and they say go. They say they're even actually on their rankings. Like it's really tough. Literally 27th offense for Denver, 23rd for Jets, 12th defense for the Jets, second for the Denver Broncos. You know what I mean? It's really tough. Really, really tough. I'm still gonna. Oh my god, I don't want to steer you guys the wrong way. Just click unders on everything basically for betting purposes. Because at least I know I'll help you guys with that. Just click. This is the second game where you just click unders on everything and you should be fine. Don't do spreads. I'm gonna go with Denver, but just remember this moment and laugh at me when Jets win like 28-7 and I look like a stupid idiot. All right, let's go with that. Texans after a bye going against the Raiders off a bye as well. The Raiders are at home and favored by 7, while the over and under is 46.5. I won't take too long with this. The way that Josh Jacobs has been playing the last few weeks versus the Houston Texans team, whose run defense is very lackluster. Very lackluster. They are on the bottom of the league. I believe they're 28th. Yeah, they are. Just checked. They are 28th in rush defense right now. The Houston Texans, not a good football team as usual. You know, they're still in that long rebuilding process. 26 on defensive DVOA, 28th on offensive DVOA. The Raiders really look like a team who was on the rise after a really slow start. All right, with their 1-4 start. I think this is probably going to be the time where they start to really look like at least part of what people thought they were going to do. Like whoever were their supporters. I know I wasn't. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I was not a supporter of them. Um, their run game under McDaniel is really getting together. We're just waiting on Derek Carr. This will be a good game for Derek Carr to actually, try to find his footing, even with no Darren Waller available. The rest of his weapons are there. The line is starting to play a lot better and under this team. I like the Raiders. I like them covering. Oh, covering spread? I'm not sure. Yes, I like covering spread. I like a 28-14 game. I'm gonna go with the Raiders, and they're gonna start really rising up in the AFC West and start to already challenge, because they argue should have beat Kansas City already, but challenge Kansas City for a possible division or just a free wild card spot with the Chargers and Bengals / Ravens, and those other teams for the AFC. I think they might start their stride here. Let's make this quick. Seattle visiting the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 5 at home, and the over and under is 50.5. Vegas expecting a shootout, despite both failing to score 20 points in their respective games last week. Albeit both games were division games, with Seattle defeating the Arizona Cardinals 12-9, I believe the score was, and while the Chargers beating the Broncos in another very lackluster Monday Night Football game because it's the Broncos, beating them in overtime, I believe, it's 16-13. Yeah, not very good games, at least for the Chargers part. The Seattle game wasn't that bad. I actually was kind of getting into it, even though the Cardinals couldn't move the ball at all. At first, I was picking the Chargers, but what people have to stop doing is they have to stop picking teams because of names. Just because Justin Herbert is a top quarterback and is in the team doesn't mean that the team overall is good. JC Jackson is looking like a just disaster of a signing so far. Still no Joey Bosa. The only person on defense that's really making a big impact, trying to at least, is Khalil Mack, with Derwin James, being Derwin James in the backfield. But there's only so much a safety can do. I don't like this defense at all. Seattle's defense, I think, is actually rising up in the ranks now. They're actually playing okay football, the defense. I like this Seattle team to actually get the upset here. Yeah, they're fourth in DVOA in offense right now, which didn't show last week. But Geno Smith moves that football. The Chargers haven't shown for any reason how they're going to be able to stop an offense like this. Okay, they're still pretty healthy. Kenneth Walker still should be running the football very well, and this team does not stop the run well at all. The Los Angeles Chargers, that is. And I think Seattle has a nice upset right here, +5. I think that's a good bet. I like Seattle and their team. I like Seattle with their offense here. I can't believe I'm picking them to get this upset here and wind up becoming 4-3, but I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go Seattle win this game at Chargers. There's gonna be no home field advantage because Chargers usually never have it. So Seattle wins this game. I like this game to go about 28-24, and Seattle, I'm starting to buy in a little bit for them actually having a mid-level pick. I'm going to go with that. All right, 3 games left, guys. Kansas City is going to the San Francisco 49ers. Kansas City on the road is favored at Levi Stadium by 2.5, and the over and under is 48.5. I'm going to also make this pretty quick. There is one thing that I need to know that we don't know yet because it's too early, and that is, are the San Francisco 49ers going to have their defensive line in this game? If they don't, Kansas City is going to mop the floor with these guys, unfortunately for them. While, on the other hand, the San Francisco has their defensive line, then we have an interesting game in our hands. By the way, this is a Super Bowl 54 rematch. You're going to hear about that garbage all the time. So just to let y'all know. Ooh, I'm going to pick Kansas City in this game, regardless. I just think if Nick Bosa and company is back, Mahomes are going to have a lot of trouble, similar to the trouble he was having last week against Buffalo Bills, with a great pass rush on their own right with Von Miller. The thing is that we don't know. That's plain and simple. I don't like 48.5. I think this will go under that. I think that's a pretty good bet to go with. This is looking like a very similar score to last week, but here's going to be the ticker in terms of the San Francisco offense versus Kansas City defense. The kicker is that Kansas City are still struggling on defense, especially against the run. But similar things to what I said about them on the previous show last week going into the Buffalo game, their corners still struggle against bigger and T receivers who go over top. Debo and Ayuk, if he plays, we're assuming he's going to play because he was dinged up last week in Atlanta. If those guys play with George Kittle, will Garoppolo get them the football correctly? Because we had a semi-bad Garoppolo game last week. Would be the X factor. If they get able to throw the ball correctly against this team, then we have a really big ball game in our hands. San Francisco, despite all the injuries, are third in DVOA, which would do wonders. However, Kansas City is also the second-ranked offense, so we're still getting a top defense versus a top offense matchup for the second week in a row in Kansas City's sake. I'm gonna go with Kansas City based on the injuries for San Fran, the stuff they usually have to deal with. I'm still not in the trust factor for Garoppolo yet, and that's probably what's gonna sway me. Um, I like a. I'm gonna go with 24-17 Kansas City still. Tough game to call. Um, I swear if they were healthy, I might lean 49ers. I'm not gonna lie to you. If I knew that Nick Bosa and all the rest of the line was healthy, I think I might lean 49ers. But because I really like this team healthy, but let's go with Kansas City. All right. You got two really bad, lackluster primetime games that we're just gonna just go through really quickly. Pittsburgh visiting Miami on Sunday Night Football. They didn't flex it for some reason, but I guess what the hell they're gonna flex it for, I don't know. Pittsburgh 7-point underdogs at Miami, and the over and under is 45, which is very interesting to me. Basically, every primetime game is going on the under, and I don't see why this will be any different. I kind of confused as to why Vegas thinks that they're going to reach a 45-point benchmark. This is really looking like a 20-17, 24-17 game, which are both under 45 points. It's looking pretty sloppy. Both teams can't run the football. Uh, Depending on who's quarterback for Pittsburgh, teams really they have dynamic receiving cores. Both have lackluster offensive lines. It is I don't know. I'm gonna pick the Miami Dolphins to win this game. They're not gonna cover this spread though. I think 24-20 is probably sounding better, but just under 24. But I'm not entirely sure where this game is going based on both injuries for both teams. This Pittsburgh Steelers secondary was just out entirely. Why did they still wind up winning the game against Tampa Bay somehow? But I believe they'll be returning. Levi Wallace, Killer Witherspoon, Minka Fitzpatrick should be coming back. And Miami, people are talking about Tua. I still highly doubt he's coming back. I'm pretty sure it's still going to be Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, in this game, they look lackluster themselves against the Minnesota Vikings on offense, even though both receivers, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, combined for like 300 yards again. This is the second time this season is happening. But yards don't necessarily equate to points, right? I'm going to go with Miami here, the Dolphins. I'll go with the team with the better weapons. I'm going to go with the team with a coach who's doing well offensively, at least. I'm going to go with a team who, although as is injury riddled as Pittsburgh for the most part, I'm going to trust Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, assuming they're both playing again, to really be able to maneuver ways to get down the field and to get as many points as possible. I think this is definitely going to be an under in this game. But I'll go with Miami. I think that's the safer one. That 7, I'm not sure is going to hit, but I'm fine with that. Now, let's finish up as quickly as possible. Let's go with a final game on Monday night. Another lackluster one coming up is going to be the Bears visiting the New England Patriots up in Foxborough. The Patriots are favored by 8, and the over and under is 40 on the dot. So we are going to actually get Mac Jones, it looks like, in this game. I don't know how everybody's going to feel with this fake quarterback controversy that doesn't really exist. Bailey Zappi has done well, and if you remember my show back on, was it Monday? I'll be forgetting my own schedule. I'm not going to lie. I believe it was Monday I put the show up. I talked about in our Backup Palooza episode how it's great that Bailey Zappi was able to play as well as he was able to, because now it should light a fire under Mac Jones's behind and not play as bad as he was in the first 3 weeks or so. That being said, he's going up against a pretty decent defense on his own right, a defense that is going to be ranked 19th, I believe, in DVOA. While the New England Patriots are actually way high on defense, going against Justin Fields. So I'll be nice and put it that way. Coming off of absolutely dead Thursday night game against the Washington Commanders. It's going to be Bill Belichick going against a quarterback who's having trouble in the air. Really good runner, though. And those type of quarterbacks who are good runners normally give Bill Belichick a problem. However, I don't think that'll happen this time, especially with all the other stuff going around in that team, the lack of receiving weapons, the lack of play calling, the lack of anything offensively you can think of outside of a running game. The New England Patriots just locked up at the time the number 1 rushing attack in the Cleveland Browns last week. So We'll see how the Patriots do here. I usually hate doing higher spreads, but I think a 8-point spread is just enough. It's perfect for New England Patriots. I'm loving a 24-10 victory for the Patriots. I think that's okay. Going under the 40, of course, because Chicago's scoring points. I don't see a universe where that happens, but I do see a universe where New England field goals this team to death, gets like 4 or 5 field goals, and then one final touchdown to finish it off to make it an even 24-23, something like that. But no more than 10, basically. So we're done here. Try to do this as fast as possible. Mind you, I still want to be in 45 minutes. Sorry, guys. If you like this, like I said, reminders, please like and subscribe to us on YouTube, on Spotify, and iHeartRadio, on iTunes, everywhere we are. The Facebook group is our biggest priority. We love to build the sports community for everybody to enjoy and express themselves. That'll be on Facebook. Everything's on the description below. All right. Thank you for tuning in as you always do. Love you guys. Peace out.